Hey everyone, it's Rachel, Oracle Spiritual Teacher and Healer. Today I'm going to do a message from Gaia. She actually asked me to bring through a message for her maybe last week when I was sitting in meditation. And I don't know what she wants to bring through, but I'm going to sit and watch what she wants to show me, and I will share. So she's showing me this land that's very lush, full of vegetation, and this one single person walking through this, patch of the earth, and doing so in reverence, um, doing so slowly. So this person's not in a rush. Um, Connected. And what I mean by that is they're not walking sort of thinking about something they saw on social media or, something that happened earlier in the day, but they're in the present moment with what is in their environment, which in this picture is just, nature. Um, and what they're showing me is he's touching the vegetation. And as he's doing so, again, just being really present with what he is touching. She's showing me this, Gaia is showing me this as a sort of guide for us all in how we want to relate to all of the nature on Earth. Most of us do not relate in this way, and this needs to shift and change. It's time for us to heal our relationship with the natural world, including Earth herself as a being, but everything that grows and lives on Earth. Our relationship has been very distorted over hundreds of years, and it has to change. Otherwise, there'll be less humans here. It won't be the opposite, where humans will dominate nature. That has tried to happen, that has happened, especially over the last 100 years or so. And so that won't be the fate. And so if we don't change how we interact with the natural world, um, that will be the trajectory of humanity. That there'll just be less people here. There'll just be less people. And what that will cause is for us to then change how we treat the earth, how we treat the other things that are living on the earth. And we'll be sort of forced into reverence. And I've spoken about this before, not in this context, but in the context of, the trajectory of humanity. If we don't change, we'll be forced to change by the events that take place on Earth. This is another example of that. If we don't come more into our hearts, we'll be forced to come into our hearts, and through that, if we still don't, um, there'll be transitions. I'll put it that way. So this is no different. This is the same thing happening, but in this sort of relationship. What she's saying is the longer we linger, the longer we push it off, procrastinate, dealing with these issues we've created on Earth in regards to our environment. Example, polluting the water, which is so important for all of life, as we know, on Earth. The longer we put it off, the harder it's going to get for all of us. And the more catastrophe will come with that. Yeah. So the biggest sort of things we want to focus on are our water, number one, and then our air comes in second to that. Um, so if we start to implement change now and are consistent with it, we can start to rebalance things, because how she's putting it is, again, if we're not taking the action, she's going to do the things that she needs to do to bring balance back to her system. And when I say her, I mean Earth, Gaia system. So if we're not making the change and bringing balance back to our own systems and how we're relating to the Earth and the natural world, she's going to do it on her end. And if she does it on her end, there'll be less people here. There'll be more catastrophes taking place, natural disasters, natural catastrophes, in order for that to happen, in order for balance to re-emerge. And some of you may be thinking, well, we need policies in place, and I can't control that. And that's a yes and a no at the same time. Using our voices and our actions to help change policy and implement policies. Again, consistency is important. Consistency is important. So the back and forth between policies changing, it's not going to work. We need to have be integral, decide we're going to do something and follow through until we see this dramatic change taking place towards balance again. And this, again, all has to do with healing our relationship with the earth and the natural world. Okay, let me see if there's something else she wants to show me. Yeah, she's saying there's a lot happening underneath the surface of the earth. So through like volcanic energy, a lot of movement. Also seismic energy. That's going to come in waves. That doesn't feel as strong as the volcanic energy under the surface. Lots of movement there. And we've seen it, in places like Iceland. But it's not going to stay just in Iceland. Uh, and how much we see of it will again depend on the actions we take collectively. Individual actions aren't enough. It has to be collective action with this. Okay, let me see what else. Yeah. It is possible for us to live in harmony with the earth as people used to, specifically indigenous people used to with the earth, while still being modernized, still moving forward with technology, moving forward with invention. We can still live in harmony. And that's part of the rebalancing that'll take place. Again, how it takes place will depend on the actions we take collectively, what we prioritize collectively, what we put up with and we don't put up with collectively, to see how that actually materializes and manifests in the future. Yeah. Renaissance. Yeah, revival. It's about revival, bringing that back, bringing in this reverence for the earth, for the natural world. That includes the stars, but the focus is really on the earth right now. There'll be a revival, reconnection, realizing all the sort of potency of the natural world and using it in balance and harmony. Humans. What else? Yeah, sacred goddess. I love that. That's what Gaia is. She's a sacred goddess, and we should be treating her that way. We should be treating her that way. And I know for some people it's so hard to think about, you know, the natural world or the earth as beings with their own intelligence and their own feeling sense and their own ways of working that are different and at the same time similar to how we function. It's just a different language, different language. Yeah. And adaptation. We'll have to adapt. We will have to adapt to the natural world as it changes and restores itself as it restores itself. So, anyone interested, I'm using this mermaid deck, and I'm using it because we have so much water energy right now. There's so much Piscean energy. That's the intuition, that's the creativity, it's the emotions. A lot of emotions coming to the surface, wanting to be sort of released, surrendered from us. So that's why I'm using this deck. So I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. That's our message from Gaia for today, right now. I'm sure I'll check in with her in the coming months to see if there's anything else she wants to share. I do want to say and remind people that this is the timeline, this is the trajectory that we are currently on. Timelines are constantly changing. We can shift trajectories. Um, and again, that comes from the decisions we make, the actions we take. Things can be difficult and hard, or they can be easier and have more flow. And it's up to us what we decide. Where we are currently is because we took a harder route than we needed to. It didn't need to be this hard, but this is what we chose collectively. Um, so just to keep that in mind, it's never doomsday. There's always hope. There's always change that's possible. And so I'll leave you with that. Okay.